it's dark.
Kevin Work is a disgraced doctor.
They're having a major increase in the number of abortions that they're actually providing now. We're going to need an increase in sidewalk support.
This is the watershed moment, Tucker. This is about abortion.
Hey, hey! Ho, Planned Parenthood has to go!
A breath.
My name is Terrisa Bukovinac. I am the Executive Director and founder of Pro-Life San Francisco, hearing arguments in the case for Planned Parenthood versus the Center for Medical Progress.
I'm out here in front of the Planned Parenthood today. I'm here to provide an essential service for women.
So it's the constitutional right to protest and so on and so forth.
When it's dark.
Kevin Work is a disgraced doctor.
They're having a major increase in the number of abortions that they're actually providing now. We're going to need an increase in sidewalk support.
This is the watershed moment, Tucker. This is about abortion.
Hey, hey! Ho, Planned Parenthood has to go!
A breath.
My name is Terrisa Bukovinac. I am the Executive Director and founder of Pro-Life San Francisco, hearing arguments in the case for Planned Parenthood versus the
When it's dark.
Kevin Work is a disgraced doctor.
They're having a major increase in the number of abortions that they're actually providing now. We're going to need an increase in sidewalk support.
This is the watershed moment, Tucker. This is about abortion.
Hey, hey! Ho, Planned Parenthood has to go!
A breath.
My name is Terrisa Bukovinac. I am the Executive Director and founder of Pro-Life San Francisco, hearing arguments in the case for Planned Parenthood versus the Center for Medical Progress.
I'm out here in front of the Planned Parenthood today. I'm here to provide an essential service for women.
So it's the constitutional right to protest and so on and so forth. Have to take a backseat to help order.
Stop censoring pro-life voices! Cantrip, stop censoring pro-life voices!
Then the next, look ahead and onward press. Just take a breath. You aren't beaten yet. You are a fighter. Yes, you are a fighter. Yes, oh, this is just a test. I know you feel distressed, but you are.
So ask yourself, what are we, the members of the community, supposed to do with this information?
A fighter. Yes, yes, yes.
Good morning, it's Robert Byrd, Executive Coordinator of Pro-Life San Francisco.
Planned Parenthood is holding a party that they're calling Acts of Courage without any irony whatsoever.
You will come through this mess. You are a fighter. Yes.
I was told by Ingleside SSPD that if I returned to the clinic that I would be cited.
We have someone stationed in an undisclosed location projecting this on the billboard.
Yes.
When I say pro-woman, you say pro-life! Pro-woman! Pro-life! Pro-woman! Pro-life!
Aloha, everybody. First of all, I apologize for those technical difficulties. I am coming to you from the west side of Oahu in Hawaii, where it is about 100 degrees. I cannot tell you what a privilege it is for me to be a part of the first ever Pro-Life San Francisco live event. When I entered the pro-life movement 31 years ago as a young atheist, I did not feel like there was a place for me in the movement. And in 31 years, I've seen the movement now become the largest, most beautiful, most diverse social movement in the history of the world. Because I am a grandfather, I'm going to put on my grandfather glasses for the rest of this. I am your host. Again, they want me to tell you I'm a filmmaker. I'm really an activist. I make films to promote a culture of life. And it is a privilege to be supporting one of the most important, timely, and effective pro-life organizations in the world. Pro-Life San Francisco is literally, not just metaphorically, but literally in the abortion industry's backyard. Not only is San Francisco one of the most culturally relevant places on the planet, it is also historically a place of significant and successful movements in justice. It is also the home of big tech, the industry dominating worldwide information and being exposed by Pro-Life San Francisco's very own Eric Cochran for specifically and knowingly censoring pro-life content. And it is also the home of the University of California, San Francisco, the late-term abortion training capital of the United States. But we will get to that soon enough. A generous donor has offered to match up to $10,000, so all gifts tonight will be doubled. Keep in mind that Pro-Life San Francisco is a 501c3 and all your donations are tax deductible. It is going to be an interesting night, but we're going to keep things moving quickly and get to our first presenter, Pro-Life San Francisco organizer and activist, Jazzi Milton. Jazzi, welcome to the broadcast.
Oh, can you guys hear me? Yay! All right, we're back on there. For all of you that are like, we can't hear her, you can hear me now. So I'll be quick. I want to make sure, I know we're a little bit behind time and I don't want to get too behind time. But what I was saying was, with Jason, he did mention the fact that we were going to be able to have donators and someone matching our donations. And if you're anything like me, then you want to know what you're giving your money to. And so I wanted to share a little bit about how I got involved with Pro-Life SF. I was raised pro-life. My mom always took us to pro-life events. I started volunteering for a pro-life faith-based organization called Alpha in Fairfield, which is in North California. And I got involved with that. And every conversation I had with pro-life people always centered around my beliefs as a Christian. And I learned very quickly that people that are undecided on pro-life or pro-choice, people that don't have an opinion necessarily on abortion, the moment they hear that you're a faith-based pro-lifer, they kind of write you off. So I had to explore other reasons of why I was pro-life and not just because of my faith for those conversations. And that's what started on that journey of exploring more of the pro-life community outside of my Christian pro-life community. And it really came to a head 2 years ago at the Let There Be Life conference with Pro-Life SF in Berkeley that they do every year. And I sat in that auditorium and I was amazed at seeing people of different races, different backgrounds, different religions, no religion, different, just completely different people all standing on agreeing that abortion is horrible, one of the biggest injustices of our time. And it really opened up my view of why I'm pro-life and why I'm fighting for what I fight for. And at the end of 2018, I actually moved to San Francisco. And a few months after getting my feet wet of the whole new culture chain of San Francisco, I reached out to Terrisa and told her I want to get involved in Pro-Life SF. And this organization, it's true what they say, where the leader goes, the organization follows. And if you donate to Pro-Life SF, you're donating to Terrisa, and that's a good thing. And the reason I say that is she is leading us in an organization that is not defined by religion, is not defined by a race, is not defined by a class, is not defined by your political standing. It's defined by the fight for the unborn. And Terrisa leads that charge. As someone who she is a Democrat, she goes to Democrats and tells them they need to be pro-life. She treats Trump supporters with respect. She does not treat anybody differently because of their other views on life, unless they are for abortion or not. And I personally, as someone who volunteers, I donate every single month to this organization because I believe in her and I believe in what they're doing. And I just want you to know, if we're going to be talking to you about money, where your money is going. And I believe that this cause is going to be the cause that bridges the gap between the bipartisan issue that is abortion. It shouldn't matter where we fall on our faith line or our political line when we're fighting for life. And organizations like Pro-Life SF are the ones bridging that gap and bringing us all together because we believe that abortion is horrible and it hurts people and it hurts unborn babies. So I'm excited for the rest of tonight and for all that you guys are going to hear. And I thank you so much for dealing with my technical difficulties and hearing me out. So Jason, back to you.
Jazzi, that was amazing, and I hope everyone caught all that. I know we still are having a few technical difficulties, and it's probably my fault. It's what happens when you have somebody coming all the way from Hawaii. Can you guys hear me? All right. Next up, we're gonna hear from our lead activist herself, Pro-Life San Francisco founder, Terrisa Bukovinac. Terrisa.
Hey everybody! Oh, It is such a pleasure to be here. I hope you can all hear me okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, awesome. So yes, we've had some technical difficulties, but I really appreciate you guys bearing with me and tuning in tonight. This is a really big step for Pro-Life San Francisco, as it is our very first fundraising event, and we are thrilled to be offering a match tonight up to $10,000. So again, all of your gifts during this webcast are doubled. Are you guys still hearing me okay? All right, great. I want to thank all the amazing Pro-Life San Francisco supporters out there who have joined us for activism, who have shared and liked our content on social media, who have forwarded our emails to your family and friends, and who have contributed financially to this life and death cause. You make this work possible, and I, along with the Pro-Life San Francisco team, appreciate you. I especially want to thank my board of directors, our organizers, and Alexandra Karkashe and Jazzi Milton, and our loyal, dedicated, and hardworking executive coordinator, Robert Byrd. Robert, if you're able to, come on and say hi to everyone. He's working really hard behind the scenes to make sure this is your favorite webcast of all time. Robert, are you there?
Hey everybody, how's it going? So I just wanted to come on real quick just to give a quick message to all of you guys. It's really important as a pro-life community to remember what we stand for and what we want to see changed in the world. And we can't see any change happen without participation. It's from the power of the people that we see change happen. So just want to give that encouragement to you guys, a reminder, step in. You don't have to just hold your views privately to yourself. We've got communities who can join with you and really give you that back if you need that moral support. And for the change we want to see happen, that's how it's going to happen. All right, I'm throwing it back to Terrisa.
All right, thank you so much, Robert. In light of the murder of George Floyd and the recent widespread community response, I want to assure our supporters that our consciences and the part of our mission dedicated to connecting people to like injustices disproportionately endured by people of color in our city and across the nation. Specifically, as a single issue organization dedicated to advancing the human rights of the unborn and their parents, we acknowledge the reality that Black women in the healthcare system are routinely denied equal care, resulting in far higher maternal mortality rates for Black women than white women. We recognize that abortion, even late term, also disproportionately affects communities of color. We encourage non-BIPOC to learn ways to improve our underlying biases, our organizational standards, and our efforts to help build a better, more racially just and life-affirming world. Pro-Life San Francisco is committed to developing and launching a broader campaign to address the tragic and unjust race gap in maternal care. We will work to usher in a safe, equal, and nonviolent future for our entire human family. None of us are free until all of us are free. Black Lives Matter. I founded Pro-Life San Francisco because after the release of the Center for Medical Progress videos in 2015, depicting top-level Planned Parenthood executives haggling over the prices of aborted baby body parts, I saw a need in my community for real education on the topic of abortion, and for support for pregnant people, sidewalk advocates, and pregnancy centers, and for a strong resistance to the influence of abortion in the Bay Area through nonviolent direct action. I met David Daleiden along with the late hero STEM Express Holly O'Donnell at a United for Life luncheon in October of 2016, one day before I officially launched Pro-Life San Francisco. And since then, David and Holly's bravery and commitment have been a major influence on both my activism and the work of this organization as a whole. And we are so, so honored to be hearing directly from David in a little bit. Now, less than 4 years later, Pro-Life San Francisco is the largest and most active millennial-led local pro-life group operating in any American city today. We're attracting hundreds, as well as regular sidewalk advocacy our campaign against UCSF, and the hearings concerning the Center for Medical Progress. Recently, I and fellow pro-life San Francisco activist Matthew Pruitt were confronted by SFPD and given written warnings for allegedly violating the shelter-in-place orders while doing sidewalk advocacy. Our 86-year-old local pro-life hero, Ron Kanapaski, was even issued a citation off by failing to even file the charges against Ron, and allowing us to continue our activism and our advocacy. This is a rare and meaningful victory in such a historically hostile environment with such a historically pro-abortion city attorney, Dennis Herrera. Our work has been consistently sought with such a historically pro-abortion city attorney, Dennis Herrera. Our work has been consistently sought out by media outlets, and we have achieved unprecedented visibility in recent months, including a speaking slot at the National Press Club before oral arguments in the June medical case. We had a feature in the Aussie documentary Unapologetic, coverage in World Magazine, NBC News, CBS, CBN News, National Review, The Stream, EWTN, and many, many more. The work of Pro-Life San Francisco is currently one of the subjects of an upcoming documentary about the pro-life movement by Emmy-nominated documentarian Cynthia Lowen. And as you likely know, we have reported and the public informed of unfolding events as we seek justice in David's case, for him, for others at CMP, and for the victims of Planned Parenthood's lucrative fetal tissue program. Let's turn our attention now to Pro-Life San Francisco's most pressing concern, UCSF. Tonight, many of you may have heard, we are premiering our most recent attempt at creating media content to draw attention to these very, very critical concerns. We're really hoping this particular video plays for you. So, Robert, roll that footage.
California.
All right, we're back live with me. Okay, as we totally did not anticipate, this video, the sound on the video isn't playing right now. So Robert is working really hard to make sure that we can make that work. I know everybody knows during Corona, it's technical difficulties. Anyways, we're doing our best. Everybody increased their internet speed. We thought we checked all the boxes, but that's okay. So I want to go back to to UCSF, and I can talk to you guys about what the video reveals. But ultimately, what's happening at UCSF is that they do not use feticides in order to preserve fetal organs for organ harvesting. Feticides that cause an abortion procedure on late-term fetuses, it ruins the tissue for research, and therefore it cannot be used. And UCSF is the late-term abortion training capital of the U.S. So they're actually leading the way in terms of training abortion at late gestational ages. Can you guys hear me okay? I feel like there's a delay. Is everything okay?
Experiments rely on a monthly supply of late-term human fetuses from elective abortions. One of the most infamous examples of this is a recently canceled contract between the National Institutes of Health and UCSF, which required a team of scientists to acquire...
Okay, it kind of looks like I'm live, but I'm kind of not sure.
For a period of 12 years. The term elective means these fetuses were healthy and free from abnormalities, fatal or otherwise. The pregnancies were also not a result of sexual violence, and neither the life or the health of the pregnant people were at risk. Many of these healthy fetuses were over 21 weeks. UCSF, a real-life American horror story. Abortion extremism's influence in America emanates from one of the most prestigious institutions in California, the University of California, San Francisco. Fact: UCSF is the late-term abortion training capital of the U.S. There are over 100 active abortion training programs across the country, run and funded by UCSF, including abortions done after viability, and UCSF has trained more than 2,750 OBGYNs currently practicing in America today. The director of UCSF's Women's Option Center, Eleanor Dry, has trained and performed abortions there for 19 years. Her stated goal is to, quote, maintain and increase the number of abortions, unquote, that UCSF provides. Fact: UCSF is the most politically involved medical institution on the issue of abortion worldwide. Making abortion a universal, routine part of OBGYN training is one of UCSF's stated goals. Political advocacy is also incorporated at all levels, from the curriculum of their students to the regular work of its professors and leaders. Fact: UCSF has engaged in well-documented, high-profile fetal tissue experiments for decades. Fact: many experiments rely on a monthly supply of late-term human fetuses from elective abortions. One of the most infamous examples of this is a recently canceled contract between the National Institutes of Health and UCSF, which required a team of scientists to acquire 2 fetuses per month for a period of 12 years. The term elective means these fetuses were healthy and free from abnormalities, fatal or otherwise. The pregnancies were also not a result of sexual violence, and neither the life or the health of the pregnant people were at risk. Many of these healthy fetuses were over 21 weeks old, which means they could survive outside the womb if provided medical care. Fact: late-term fetuses meant for experimentation cannot be euthanized humanely. Digoxin, the lethal injection to ensure fetal demise prior to an abortion procedure, cannot be used on fetuses intended for medical research because feticides severely compromise the quality of fetal tissue for experimentation.
Like I said, if you want no ditch, your options right now are like UCSF and Planned Parenthood of New York City, and that's it. And the reason it's Planned Parenthood of New York City is because they all trained at UCSF.
Oh.
So it's like the UCSF school.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what the feasibility of that is for you, but to me, that other than UCSF is the largest site of 20 to 24-week cases that have not gotten feticide.
We're trying to connect with providers and with clinics that are doing, into advanced second trimester gestation, but also, without ditching until later, because ditching destroys the material. Like it nukes the stem cells.
We have a lot of UCSF-based tissue.
I'm getting my cards out. Yes. You said you have a lot of what?
A lot of UCSF. So I'm at UCSF. So we have a lot of. We have so many researchers kind of tripping over each other in our sterile.
Oh, so you're supplying a lot just to your local people at your institution. Yeah. Do you think?
Fact: UCSF performs late-term abortions two ways: live dismemberment and labor induction. According to their online lectures, UCSF performs abortions on viable, pain-capable fetuses, either through a D&D procedure where the fetus is disarticulated, alive, and removed in parts, or a medical induction where the cervix is softened with misoprostol and labor is induced. Fact: medically induced late-term abortions can result in born-alive infants up to half of the time. The Centers for Disease Control and the Congressional Research Service both verify the reality of abortion survivors. According to the Society of Family Planning, up to 50% of labor induction abortions without digoxin can result in born-alive infants. Fact: fetal tissue research continues to this day at UCSF with the full support of university leadership. Chancellor Sam Hawgood has been at UCSF for over 30 years and is one of the most outspoken defenders of abortion-linked fetal tissue research in the nation. He has openly stated his hostility to any restrictions on the use of aborted fetal tissue, despite the known ethical alternatives. Several NIH contracts involving fetal tissue, to one extent or another, are still active at UCSF. These projects received a combined total of almost $3 million from the federal government between 2018. Future cancellation of government funding for abortion-linked projects will likely increase the private funding, and the experiments will continue uninterrupted. Pro-Life San Francisco has confronted Sam Hawgood and the UC Board of Regents on the following separate occasions: September 19th, 2019, November 14th, 2019, January 23rd, 2020, March 19th, 2020, and May 19th, 2020. We have asked for transparency of their protocols for verifying signs of life and other concerns related to their fetal tissue research projects, including the practice of live dismemberment and the possibility of infants being born alive and subsequently killed for experimentation. So far, the university and the regents have failed to respond. Fact: abortionists have historically failed to provide life-saving care for infants born alive during abortions. Fact, UCSF has failed to comply with the Local Freedom of Information Act. On July 3rd, 2019, Pro-Life San Francisco submitted a public records request with UCSF. UCSF has provided no response to our follow-up inquiry from November. This is a call to action. Pro-Life San Francisco is calling on every member of the public to join our campaign against UCSF. We're demanding safeguards, we're demanding transparency, and we're demanding humane standards. No one should be sacrificed for the health of others. We will not allow a system to continue that depends on the destruction of the marginalized. Science and ethics must go hand in hand, and our desire for scientific knowledge should never eclipse conscience. Live dismemberment must end. UCSF, a real-life American horror story. Abortion extremism's influence in America.
The video's still playing. Okay, look, you guys, thank you so much for your patience with the technical difficulties, but hopefully you were able to understand that this campaign is extremely crucial to the future of the entire pro-life movement. Please consider giving to support this campaign. And remember that all up to $10,000. We're looking to bring on summer interns, and housing and costs in San Francisco are extremely expensive. We are also looking to complete multiple other media projects similar to this video and to put a massive amount of funding into an ad campaign that can saturate the social media platforms here in San Francisco with pro-life messaging and with messaging specifically about UCSF. San Francisco is the Atlanta of the Civil War. When we win here, the abortion industry falls everywhere. Please consider giving today. Together, we can win, and we will. Thank you so much. I'm going to send it back to Jason now.
That was a powerful video. Thank you, Terrisa. It's challenging and necessary. But now is the moment you've all been waiting for. We are so excited for our special guest tonight, David Daleiden. He is a citizen journalist with nearly a decade of experience in conducting investigative research on the abortion industry. In 2013, David started the Center for Medical Progress and developed and executed the organization's first long-term project, the Human Capital Investigation, documenting Planned Parenthood's illegal sale of body parts and aborted fetuses. His writings have been published in the Weekly Standard, the Human Life Review, USA Today, and The Hill. David has appeared on The Sean Hannity Show, EWTN, CBS, ABC, Fox News, Tucker Carlson, CNN, and then among many others. It is not hyperbole to say that David's courage and his leadership and his daring has made him one of the most important workers for justice and advocates for human life in the history of our country. And it is my privilege to introduce my hero and yours, David Daleiden. Well, I think they're trying to get David connected. I don't know about you guys, but I have been doing Skype calls now for about 90 days for all of my meetings. And after this pandemic is over, I hope to never do a Zoom or Skype call again, because about 50% of them have challenges. So I'm just going to keep talking, guys. Cut in when you get David's situation fixed. But I just want to say this. This organization is doing the most important work on earth and one of the most challenging places. We have never had as much support for defending women and children from the violence of abortion in the history of our country as we do right now. But it's important that we continue to work, that everyone who feels the commitment to protecting the child in the womb has an organization that they feel like they can work with. And I'm hearing on my phone here, I think David's in. You guys in? I think we're in. Okay. think David's in. Or not.
It says I'm on deck. I can hear you. Can you hear me? All right, I think we're live. Can everyone, all right, can everyone hear me? I think we can hear me. It looks like I'm ready to start talking. Hold on, let me make sure that I'm getting the right messages here. Okay, yes, we're ready to go. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jason and Terrisa, for the very wonderful introduction, and thank you, Pro-Life San Francisco, for putting on this webcast. Thank you, everybody, for coming to check this out this evening. It is right now here in June of 2010 is actually it's a really cool personal anniversary for me here. June of 2020. I kind of gave it away already. This is the 10-year anniversary of when I actually really first came across the information on Planned Parenthood and other abortion centers' participation in the harvesting and sale and trafficking of aborted baby body parts. And so it was exactly 10 years ago, basically almost 10 years ago to the day, that I first stumbled across this information, and I was really convicted by it. And I was convinced that this is the project that deserved to be done in a very in-depth and long-term way to make it top of the headlines, front page news again, how our brothers and sisters in the womb are parted out and sold like objects because of fetal experimentation and fetal trafficking. And so it's been 10 years now that has really been on my mind and on my heart, and almost every single day, I think that this is one of the most important topics that I can devote my skills and time and talent to getting people to listen and getting people to pay attention to it, and showing people why they should care and why we should care about what it means for abortion policy and how we treat each other and how we treat the smallest and most vulnerable among us in our country. It was 10 years ago it first came across my radar, the whole phenomena of harvesting and trafficking and selling the body parts from aborted children. I discovered about 10 years ago that had been 10 years before that. In 1999 or 2000, there was a very good seminal investigation and expose done by the group Life Dynamics with my friend Mark Crutcher out in Texas. That was the very first kind of expose in the mass media of the harvesting and trafficking of aborted baby body parts. And that was before the era of the new media. That was before YouTube, before Facebook, before Twitter. And so at that time, even though almost every piece of information that was released in that early investigation in 1999-2000 came from a Planned Parenthood clinic in Kansas. And yet Planned Parenthood's CEO at the time was able to go on national television and say, you know what, there's nothing to see here. You know, we think this is terrible. If anyone were to be involved in activities like this, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. How terrible. We disavow, we condemn it. And yet all the information was coming out of a Planned Parenthood clinic at that time in 1999 and 2000. And yet, because this was the era of the dinosaur legacy establishment media, all of it was able to be swept under the rug very easily, and Planned Parenthood was able to get away from it as if they had no real involvement in it, and nobody was ever really held accountable. And so 10 years ago, in June of 2010, I thought that was extremely shocking and extremely unjust, extremely wrong. And most importantly, I thought that just the whole issue of harvesting and selling body parts from aborted children is particularly horrifying, but also particularly clarifying for the abortion policy debate in our country, and also just for our values as human beings and as Americans, that the body parts are only valuable for Planned Parenthood and companies like STEM Express and agencies like the NIH and academic institutions like UCSF and others to sell and to traffic in and to experiment on, precisely because they come from children who are human beings, just like you or me, just like us. They're not trying to experiment on little frog hearts or little kitten brains or body parts of animals. In fact, when they're even involving lab rats or lab animals in it, some of you might be familiar with the term humanized mice or humanized mouse, that they actually want to be able to harvest and obtain tiny aborted baby human body parts for use, grafting them into lab rats to create humanized mice. So the whole phenomenon of the exploitation of our unborn brothers and sisters for experimental use just highlights the humanity that is denied and destroyed in the practice of state-sponsored industrial scale child killing through the abortion industry. So 10 years ago, I was just very convicted that this is, among all the sort of issues within the pro-life sphere and all the different subtopics within the abortion debate, I felt like this was one of the most important ones for our country, for our values, and for our future, that really deserve to be highlighted and to be at the top of everybody's mind and on the tip of everybody's tongue when we're talking about abortion policy in our country. So in 2013, I founded the Center for Medical Progress as an organization for citizen journalism and citizen reporting. And we went undercover in the abortion industry, modeling ourselves after real life biotech startup companies in the state of California like STEM Express and Novogenics and others, modeling ourselves after these real life startup companies that had actually been starting up since 2005 or 2010, with the explicit business model of embedding themselves inside some of the biggest Planned Parenthood and other abortion centers in the country, embedding their workers inside of them in order to receive research customer orders from prestigious research institutions like the University of California, like other universities around the country, like taxpayer-funded research laboratories like at the NIH and others, like major biotech companies sometimes, to receive customer orders from those entities, from those end users, for the body parts of aborted children that they wanted to experiment on. And then to take that order list and to target and identify the pregnant patients coming into the abortion clinics that morning, so they could target the ones that were most likely to yield the body parts that were being looked for and that were in demand to meet that kind of demand. So it's really horrific that when you're talking about fetal body parts harvesting and experimental use, the way that it's typically done is you're basically creating a second level of abortion quotas on top of the abortion quotas that already exist for the abortion clinics to operate as a business. So CMP went undercover for 2.5 years, 30 months, to document and expose the way that was happening in contemporary America from 2013 to 2015. And in the summer of 2015, 5 years ago, we started releasing those videotapes, and we released a series of undercover videos that have caught for all the world and all of history to see Planned Parenthood's senior level leadership callously negotiating the harvesting and sale of the tiny little hearts and lungs and livers and brains of our unborn brothers and sisters in the womb. Sometimes even being willing to deliver children alive in order to harvest the most usable body parts from them, resorting to illegal abortion methods like the partial birth abortion procedure, and even being willing to commit infanticide through organ harvesting. And so these issues are very serious. They deserve a serious response, and they've gotten the attention of lawmakers and policymakers and public officials in our country over the past 5 years. The videos have over 14 million views on YouTube alone, and they have been viewed many, many dozens of millions of more times in other traditional media and displayed in other media as well. The videos led to 2 major investigations that lasted about 1.5 years long each, one at the Senate Judiciary Committee and one at the House Select Investigative Panel. Those 2 investigations yielded dozens of criminal and regulatory referrals for Planned Parenthood, for independent abortion centers, and for their business partners like STEM Express and Novogenics and Advanced Bioscience Resources. Dozens of criminal referrals to state and local and federal law enforcement, including the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice. It was announced at the end of 2017 that the U.S. DOJ and the FBI were following up on those criminal referrals and had opened up a full federal investigation of Planned Parenthood and their business partners. And it was also announced in December of 2017 that 2 of Planned Parenthood's oldest business partners in harvesting and selling baby body parts, the Da Vinci companies in Southern California, actually admitted guilt for selling body parts against the law from late-term abortions at Planned Parenthood of Orange and San Bernardino counties, and they were shut down in a $7.8 million settlement with the Orange County District Attorney. And then furthermore, in just the past couple of years, there have been major reforms at the top level at the Federal Health and Human Services Department, where the Trump administration's HHS completely prohibited human fetal experimentation at government laboratories through prohibiting intramural research, intramural fetal experimentation at the Health and Human Services Department, and implemented new and much stricter and serious patient human subjects protection safeguards for any further contemplated fetal experimentation that might happen at outside taxpayer-funded entities like the University of California and others. And that reform work is ongoing, and the DOJ investigation is ongoing as well. And so the results of this issue, the issue hasn't gone away. The results are still playing out. The videos are still having an impact. And that brings me to the importance of an organization like Pro-Life San Francisco, which I'm so impressed with, and I cannot say enough good words about them. I see a lot of people already asking on the Facebook feed, where can they donate? I don't know if anybody has mentioned it yet, but I'll just go ahead and mention it now. If at any time during this webcast, while you're still watching, if you just want to, go ahead and give them money, go to prolifesf.com, and that's where you can make your taxpayer-funded donations to Pro-Life San Francisco. But let me say a little bit more about what the work that they've been doing, what I'm so impressed with about Pro-Life San Francisco, as our national focus and attention on fetal experimentation has been increasing and has been going deeper and broader over the past couple of years. Pro-Life SF is really on the vanguard, and they are leading the way into tracking down all the different rabbit trails that you go down and all the different issues that crop up in this very, very big and technically complex topic. And they're really boiling it down, and they're surfacing information that otherwise people wouldn't necessarily be looking for or looking at. A lot of people may not have known before we just watched this incredible video that Pro-Life San Francisco is debuting and premiering this evening, that San Francisco is the home of the University of California, San Francisco, UCSF, which is the major medical school for the University of California system. It's also one of the biggest and most prestigious medical schools in the entire country, actually, in the United States of America. It's typically listed in the top 3 or top 5 of medical schools around the country. But sadly, UCSF is the abortion capital of the United States. And what do I mean by that? It's not the abortion capital in the sense of New York City, for example, which has massively more abortions than any other city in the country. But UCSF is the capital of the American abortion industry in the sense that that is where the entire direction and the next steps of the entire abortion industry in the country are developed and practiced and then exported from UCSF all across the country and even sometimes across the world. UCSF is the major training center for abortion in the country and even in the world. They have had the biggest and most long-term abortion training program for many, many years. They basically manage and develop the National Abortion Training Program, the Ryan Residency Training Program, also sometimes called the Ryan Family Planning Program. Now they're trying to rename it for PR purposes. But UCSF has been involved in hardcore abortion training with an emphasis on late-term abortion for decades now, and they export those programs from UCSF to medical schools all across the country. UCSF is also the site where Planned Parenthood-linked abortion providers and others have been developing and employing new experimental abortion techniques that they then go and practice in populations in third world countries and in other places around the country, in other places around the world, frequently with taxpayer dollars supporting a lot of their work. And UCSF is also a major site of fetal experimentation, as we learned in the video that Pro-Life San Francisco is releasing this evening. And as we also learned, I think a lot of people learned for the first time just a couple of years ago when the news first broke about this major, almost $14 million contract that the National Institutes of Health had for many, many years with UCSF. Was a nearly $14 million contract. It worked out to approximately $2 million a year. that UCSF was getting paid by the NIH in taxpayer dollars under this agreement. And what was the quid pro quo in that agreement? What was the pivot of the exchange in the contract that meant that UCSF, above and beyond any other institution in our country, was going to get this $2 million contract in taxpayer money from the NIH? I'll tell you what the quid pro quo was. The quid pro quo in the agreement that UCSF had with NIH is that NIH required that UCSF produce multiple cohorts of so-called humanized mice for the NIH experimentation every month. They required one cohort to be engrafted with the fresh livers from late-term aborted fetuses, and they required the other cohort to be engrafted with livers and thymus and intestines. And the conditions of the contract required that the two cohorts of mice be constructed, each of them be constructed from, all of them be constructed from the same donor, so from fetal tissue from the same so-called donor, the same victim of late-term abortion. So what the contract meant is that in exchange for $2 million in taxpayer money each year from the National Institutes of Health, UCSF had to be able to guarantee to produce to the NIH 2 pristine, healthy, late-term aborted fetuses every month in order to meet their quotas under the contract for fetal experimentation in humanized mice, in order to have enough baby body parts to stitch into the lab rats to then sell to the NIH in order to keep on getting their $2 million in taxpayer funding every year under this contract. Thankfully, the Trump administration terminated that contract in the past year or so here. And I don't think that we have seen the last of the accountability that should come from the government and the consequences that should come from HHS and others for allowing a barbaric agreement like that to continue under taxpayer funding for so many years and for so long. And that sort of agreement is not unique to UCSF. That is the criminal quid pro quo, the exchange of valuable consideration for fetal body parts that is at the heart of the agreements that companies like STEM Express had with Planned Parenthood, that companies like Advanced Bioscience Resources have with independent abortion clinics, and that the NIH and research universities and others have had with many, many Planned Parenthood affiliates and abortion clinics across the country for many, many years at this point. So it's very important, it's crucial that Pro-Life San Francisco is surfacing that kind of information, spotlighting it with videos like this, and bringing forward that kind of information. You know, there's plenty of work to go around in this topic. I mean, many of you watching this broadcast might be familiar with the, or may have seen the video that Center for Medical Progress just released last week, featuring new unsealed, sworn videotaped testimony from top-level Planned Parenthood officials admitting under oath that they were selling body parts for valuable consideration, the very thing that they've been denying for almost 5 years at this point. So that's what Center for Medical Progress has been working on. We frankly have not had time to go and focus on UCSF, but Pro-Life San Francisco is focusing on UCSF, and that's very important. There is so much, this is such a big topic. There are so many details. There are so many facts that need to be exposed and publicized for the public and for policymakers to know about and to understand. And Pro-Life San Francisco is doing that. And they're doing it by taking the fight directly to the stronghold of the institution of abortion in our country. I think it is, I mean, I know that it's incredibly inspiring to me. I hope that it's inspiring to all of you that in San Francisco, California, there is a smart and savvy and effective and cutting edge local pro-life organization that is making sure that these issues get a full hearing in the court of public opinion and making sure that the facts are accounted for and are presented and publicized to the public. So I can't say enough good things about Pro-Life San Francisco. Those of you who are watching probably know that I have been spending a lot of time in San Francisco over the past couple of years because Center for Medical Progress has been fighting against Planned Parenthood and their allies' retaliatory lawsuit, the federal lawsuits that they brought in retaliation for the undercover videos that we published. I have also personally been fighting this completely bogus selective and discriminatory prosecution brought by then Attorney General, now U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, and current Attorney General Javier Becerra at the behest of their friends at Planned Parenthood and the National Abortion Federation and others. First time in the entire history of the California video recording law that regular local TV news journalists in California on a daily and weekly basis are still doing undercover video. Not a single one of them in the 60-year history of the California video recording law has ever been criminally prosecuted for news gathering ever under the California video recording law. I am the first and only case of that, even though we were scrupulous to only record newsworthy conversations in places of public accommodation. And yet some of the local TV news journalists, you watch some of the places they're recording and you're sort of wondering, that seems like it might kind of be private. It's inside somebody's, house in a residential area. We certainly never filmed in a place like that. And yet not a single one of them has ever been prosecuted under the California video recording law. My case is the first and only one for filming public business conversations in crowded public restaurants during lunch hour. So go figure. But that case is starting to fall apart. It's a completely political case brought by Planned Parenthood and their political allies for blatantly admitted unconstitutional purposes, solely based on the content of my message and the content of my speech, to try to shut me down, to try to shut CMP up, and to try to bury the videos and pretend like all of this has never happened. And that case is now starting to fall apart. About half of it was thrown out at the end of last year by the local San Francisco Superior Court. And I will tell you, I can't prove this, but I believe very strongly that it's because of the excellent work of Pro-Life San Francisco, their presence at the courtroom, their presence outside the courtroom, demonstrating, advocating, letting public officials in San Francisco know what the community of San Francisco thinks about the selective and unconstitutional weaponization of California law against messages that are politically unpopular, politically disfavored. That is the work of Pro-Life San Francisco, and they have been doing it with excellence and with tireless energy over the past several years here. And I think that they are the number one reason that Planned Parenthood's custom ordered prosecution is not sticking even in the city of San Francisco, California, because of the very good work of Pro-Life San Francisco. So I cannot praise them enough. I cannot say enough good things about them. And they deserve all of the support that you guys can give them this evening in order to meet that $10,000 matching grant that they've been promised. So whatever you're able to give, go to prolifesf.com and you can make your taxpayer funded donation to them today. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Terrisa, for having me on. And I'm a big fan of Pro-Life San Francisco and will continue to be for quite some time. Thank you guys for listening.
Such inspiring words from such a heroic man. And I want to thank you, David Daleiden, for doing the hard work of the movement. Thank you very much. And also thank you on behalf of Pro-Life San Francisco for being here for them. Thank you very much. Pro-Life San Francisco and David Daleiden, they do the very hard work of the movement, the hardest work of the movement. And that's why it's just grateful for me to be here with them this evening, or at least this evening for me here in Hawaii. Now, there is another big surprise, and we have a special musical guest. And unfortunately, it's not me, but it is our very own Pro-Life San Francisco Executive Director, Terrisa Bukovinac. So she is a beautiful singer. I've gone to karaoke with her, so this is going to be a big privilege for us.
All right, thank you so much, Jason. I did write this song for you guys, and I'm hoping that it stirs some feeling in your heart for the pro-life cause, and hopefully get us to that $10,000 match. So please go to prolifesf.com/donate and make a contribution today. Thank you so much. This is called Pro-Life Revolution. A better world is possible, and it starts with us. We can end the suffering. We can give it up. Every generation has an obligation to non-violence and non-discrimination. land. And you know it's true, the unborn matter too. So join us and unite, for we have just begun to fight. Help us tell the nation we want a pro-life revolution. Help us tell the nation we want a pro-life revolution. The world can be a scary place when you're just getting by. And there's no comfort or warm embrace to make you even want to try. Let's come together from across the land to end the stigma and shame. Let's be there for each other and let's loosen and break the chains. And you know it's true, the unborn matter too. So join us and unite, for we have just begun to fight. Help us tell the nation we want a pro-life revolution. Help us tell the nation we want a pro-life revolution. We join together from near and far, from the mountains to the sand, because we've come to know that the future's in our hands. You never know what you're made of until the moments come. Well, today's that day and that moment is now, and we shall overcome. And you know it's true, the unborn matter too. So join us and unite, for we have just begun to fight. Sing it with me. Help us tell the nation we want a pro-life revolution. Sing it with me. Help us tell the nation we want a pro-life revolution. Help us be the solution. Start a pro-life revolution. Last time, help us start this revolution and give today to Pro-Life San Francisco. Your gifts are doubled. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Try again. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah. Zoom calls. Okay, guys. What I was saying is this slogan that we're all hearing together apart. And I think it's true, though, right? We are all together. I'm in my garage office where it's 150 degrees. You're in your home. Terrisa was singing for us from her home, and that was really a beautiful experience. I talk to so many of the pro-life leaders on a weekly basis, and I hear over and over and over again that Pro-Life San Francisco is one of the most effective pro-life organizations in the world. And I hear it from so many people that Terrisa is the most effective pro-life activist. We need 90 people to commit to $35 a month. And I never support other pro-life groups because everyone asks me, and if I give to one, then I feel like I have to give them all. But I am going to commit to becoming a $35 a month monthly donor myself. So now we need 89 more people. If we all commit to that, they can focus most of their time on activism, and they don't have to worry about fundraising. What I love about our movement, our big, beautiful, unique, wild, crazy movement, is that it is filled with people who have answered the call to adventure, that they have witnessed a grave injustice or they've experienced personally an intimate and grave injustice, oftentimes abortion, but it doesn't have to be abortion. It was my experience with abortion that led me to being also an anti-war activist. But it's everyone gets the call to adventure. Everyone witnesses injustice. Everyone experiences injustice. But it's by a special kind of grace and privilege for those of us who answer that call. And Pro-Life San Francisco is a movement. It's an organization of people who, after experiencing injustice, answered that call. For me, it's something I've been doing since I was 17 years old, as a 17-year-old private in the Army, when my high school girlfriend called me on a Sunday morning in Fort Benning, Georgia, wailing. Her soul was crying because her father beat her up and took her to get a forced third trimester abortion. And that's why when I watch this video that we just got to see today, or so many of the videos that David Daleiden has revealed, it breaks my heart because I feel like I could be looking at my own child, my own daughter, because the abortionist told my high school girlfriend after the procedure that she had a little girl. And so that was my call to adventure. When I joined the pro-life movement as a 17-year-old atheist, now I'm a Catholic, but as a 17-year-old atheist, when I joined the pro-life movement, it was a decade or more before I felt like I even belonged. And Pro-Life San Francisco has such a special place in the movement because it's an organization that a lot of people feel at home in and working through and with. And we're a diverse movement. And I want everyone, I think the one thing every human being on earth can agree on, the simple thing is that every person should have protection, legal protection from the violence of abortion, and that we should all share the burdens of the vulnerable. There is no one more vulnerable than the child in the womb and that mother of hers that's carrying her. And so Pro-Life San Francisco, to me, is a cutting edge and important organization. So I want to thank you for being a part of this program. I want to thank you for putting up with the technical difficulties. But these things are to be expected, right? Life isn't easy. It's not worth doing if it's easy. I look at that with my activism. If there's something easy to do, if there's something that people are going to applaud you for doing, let other people do that. But the hard work like Pro-Life San Francisco is doing, the challenging work, that's where I want to be. And so I'm grateful that they asked me to be a part of this today. So I just want to close by saying there is that $10,000 matching grant. And now we live in a world become vulnerable. We live in a world where there's never been more people since maybe 60 years. We have to go back 60 years to where we've had more famine, more fear, more violence. And in this time, this is the time we need to lean in and support Pro-Life San Francisco. Remember, there is that matching gift. And when a donor gives you a matching gift, what they're saying is, you need to work for this. You need to prove to me that there are other people out there who want to support you too. And I am always grateful for donors who offer that matching gift. And so that they can get that entire $10,000, write the biggest check you can. For some of you, it's going to be that $35 a month. For others of you, you can do a much bigger check. And I know there's at least one person who can write a check right now to guarantee that match. And I would like to ask that you do that. So I want to make sure I got very specific instructions. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. The big thing is becoming a monthly donor. If 90 people do $35 a month, their budget's complete. For a nonprofit organization that does such important work, that's very modest. That is a very, very modest goal. So I know that we can do that. All of us watching can do that. Because if you're watching this, that means that wherever you live, Honolulu, Maine, Casablanca, wherever it is you live, Pro-Life San Francisco is your organization. So if it's your organization, become a donor. This is Jason Jones from the west side of Oahu. Just really overwhelmed with gratitude that I had a privilege to talk to you. And thank you for sharing an hour with us and supporting the most unique, creative, hardworking, and beautiful pro-life organization in America, Pro-Life San Francisco. Thank you. Am I still on, guys?
When it's dark.
Kevin Work is a disgraced doctor.
They're having a major increase in the number of abortions that they're actually providing now. We're going to need an increase in sidewalk support.
This is the watershed moment, Tucker. This is about abortion.
Hey, hey! Ho-ho! Planned Parenthood, I don't have to go!
A breath.
My name is Terrisa Bukovinac. I am the Executive Director and founder of Pro-Life San Francisco, hearing arguments in the case for Planned Parenthood versus the Center for Medical Progress.
I'm out here in front of the Planned Parenthood today. I'm here to provide an essential service for women.
The constitutional right to protest and so on and so forth has to take a backseat to help order.
Stop censoring pro-life voices! Patriots, stop censoring pro-life voices!
Then the next, look ahead and onward press. Just take a breath. You aren't beaten yet. You are a fighter. Yes, you are a fighter. Yes, oh, this is just a test. I know you feel distressed, but you are.
So ask yourself, what are we, the members of the community, supposed to do with this information?
A fighter. Yes, 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 yes.
Good morning, it's Robert Byrd, Executive Coordinator of Pro-Life San Francisco.
Planned Parenthood is holding a party that they're calling Acts of Courage, without any irony whatsoever.
You will come through this mess. You are a fighter. Yes.
I was told by Ingleside SSPD that if I returned to the clinic that I would be cited.
We have someone stationed in an undisclosed location projecting this on the building.
Yes.